Okay, this is 2021 R5, and this is going to talk about the new reductions in girder load tributary area. And the first thing here that we need to talk about is just do a little bit of instruction and background on how the reductions work in Studio and in general from the codes. So what you're seeing on the screen here is the charts for the area reduction. The top one here is for IRC, and the bottom is the formulas for IBC. I think we probably, most of us know this, but it is different between IRC and IBC. One of the things to understand, or probably the most important thing to understand with IRC, is that there is only one minimum roof live load, or one reduction, if you will, and it combines both the slope reduction and the area reduction. Basically, it's just this chart. So you can find the pitch that your truss is at and the tributary area, and that tells you what minimum roof live load you can use to design with, okay? They're combined together, and that's important because in Studio they are also combined together. You only have one basic on-off switch, and I'll show you that in a minute, in order to get this to work the way that you want it to. For IBC, however, it is a formula. The formula for tributary area is called R1. It is these equations, and depending on what your tributary area is, it's a calculated reduction factor, which means it could be anything from a 1.0 down to a 0.6 factor. Those are the extremes, and it could be anything in between, right, based on the tributary area that you calculate here. This formula gives you what that is, and it applies between 200 and 600 square feet. Same thing for IRC in terms of the areas that are in effect here. It's, less than 200 square feet, between 200 and 600 square feet, or over 600 square feet. So the tributary area reductions are based on the same criteria, but again, for IRC, it's pulled from a table value. For IBC, it's a calculated reduction factor, okay? So let's go to Studio, and the first thing that everybody needs to understand with Studio is that because we wanted to allow people to say that the code requires, say, a 16 pound per square foot minimum live load, but I want to use 18 anyway, or 19 or 20 or something larger than that. The way that we have programmed the slope reduction part in Studio is based on the fact that Studio will only double check the load that you have entered against the required load based on the pitch to determine if your minimum roof live load is high enough. If you put in something that is higher than the minimum roof live load, then Studio will let you use whatever you put in, okay? So this is very important to understand this. In Studio, for your standard live load, if you put in a factor of 10, for example, then, and you have a 1.25 here, which tells it that it's a live load and nothing else, then Studio will automatically check that entered number against what's required, and it will use that, okay? And on this IBC truss, you see that for a 412 pitch, there's no reduction at a 412 pitch, so it's using the full 20. If I go to the IRC truss here, same exact truss, and I come in here and I edit this, it's currently set to 20 just so I could show that it's using 20. But if I change this to 10, and we'll save that, okay, you'll see that it immediately changes it to a 16 PSF load. It won't let you use the 10 because that's too low, okay? It bumps it up to what the required minimum is And again, the chart says minimum roof live load, right, is 16 PSF for a 412. But if I come in here and I say, well, I don't care, I want to use 18, okay, then it's going to let you use the 18 because it's more than the minimum. And again, if you put in the standard 20, it's going to use 20 because you're telling the program, I don't want to use the pitch reduction in that case. And again, it's important to understand with IRC, the pitch reduction and the area reduction are tied together. So it's all completely dependent on what you put in here. In IRC, if you put in 20 pounds, then you are telling the program, I don't want to use the pitch reduction. And that's also telling the program, therefore, I don't want to use the area reduction. So keep that in mind as you're looking at trusses as we go through all of this. So the best thing to do if you want to use this in IRC or IBC is set your live load to 10 pounds or 12 pounds. 12 is really the minimum. The program will let you set it as low as 10, however, and make sure you leave your live load duration at 1.25, okay? And then the program will reduce that for you. And you see here, I've got 16 pounds. If I go up to a 12-12 slope, it will reduce it to 12 pounds, okay? If I have anything larger in my load template for the live load, then it's going to use whatever I have in my load template and it's not going to use the minimum. Okay, now this is just the pitch reduction. For IBC, it's 20 pounds at 412 and it will start decreasing that for every little bit of pitch that you use that's higher than that. So if I go to 512, you'll see it changes it to 19. If I go to 612, you'll see it drops it to 18. If I go to 712, 17, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way up to 1212, where again, I'm down to the 12 PSF loading. So it's an incremental change with IBC. It's kind of an all-at-once change with IRC based on a formula that's used. Okay, so this is kind of some background information. All of this that we're looking at right here is just the pitch reduction information, and it's not new in Studio R5, but you need to know how Studio works with the pitch and area reductions in order to use this. The pitch and area reductions, again, are tied together to that same less than 20 PSF live load for IRC. For IBC, it's the area reduction is based on this switch. So the area reduction and the pitch reduction are two separate checks in IBC, but they're intimately and tied together completely for IRC. Okay, so with this turned on, it will also do the area reduction for IBC. If you turn this off, you can do the pitch reduction without doing the area reduction, or vice versa. If you have 20 PSF for your live load and you turn this on, then you can use the area reduction without doing the pitch reduction. And you can use both, of course. So it's neither, either, or both. For IBC. For IRC, it's either you do both or you don't do either. There's only two options. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions on this, please let me know.